Not that many people seem to realise that the autistic spectrum is about the same age as the World Wide Web. Whilst we were dialing in with our crackling modems to view the very first websites, the autistic spectrum as we know it was formally recognised in the official diagnostic manuals. I was quite an early adopter of the internet. I went online in the mid-1990s, and one of the first things I did was try to find other people like me, other autistics or people with Asperger's syndrome as the term was then. The first online article that I found, which was written by another autist, opened with the line, "To be on the autistic spectrum is to know bullying intimately, completely and unremittingly." It was an odd moment for me. It resonated so deeply and yet it scared me. I had known bullying all my young life, but to see someone else with similar experiences to mine writing of bullying that paralleled my experience was both vindication and warning. It wasn't just me, not just some unique quirk of my personality that had invited my mistreatment. It was something common to other autistic people too. A quarter of a century on, and it's still an unfortunate truth. An autistic person who can honestly say they haven't been in the target of at least one vicious bully is a rarity indeed, and it's not exclusive to children. Bullying can happen almost anywhere, in schools, in churches, in social groups, in the workplace and even in hospitals. Why does bullying happen though? What turns a person into a bully? What do they gain from it? In nature, there are countless animals that form groups of the same species. From prides of lions on the plains of Africa to the herds of zebra and wildebeest they prey upon. Groups offer distinct survival advantages. Hunters are more successful working in packs, whilst prey animals stand a higher chance of survival if they're just one of many potential targets. And of course, it increases opportunities for reproduction, no end. Humans are no exception to this. However, unlike our cousins in the wild, humans can feel part of multiple groups at once. We have the tribe of family and the tribe of nation, the tribe of religion and the tribe of class. There are political tribes and sporting tribes. Even gender and sexuality are subject to tribalism. Tribes give a sense of commonality and strength. Members see themselves as part of a select group that share an understanding, a characteristic, or something as simple as living in the same place. The desire to be part of something is a primal urge that is keenly sought. To be alone, to not be a part of something, is a common fear which people go to great lengths to avoid. A common aspect of virtually all tribes is hierarchy. There's always a pecking order. There is a top dog who calls the shots, whether it's a formally recognised leader, the strongest of the pack, or the most popular. It's rare that a group exists, no matter their idealism or beliefs, where hierarchy doesn't exist to some degree. And it is hierarchy that creates bullies. Whilst most people are content to be simply part of the group and reap the benefits such membership brings, others seek to increase their status. It may be because they see higher status as being a more secure position, but often it's because they have their eyes on the top dog's throne. There are 3 obvious routes to gaining favour and status. One is through achievement. They may work hard to demonstrate their superior strength or intelligence to prove themselves worthy of a seat at the top table, gaining the respect and position they desire by earning it. Second is buying status, using wealth, outside influence, or by showering favour and compliments on those above them They may be allowed into the inner circle, and once inside, consolidate their position. Unfortunately for the bully, their ambition often far outweighs their talent or value to the group, so they are left with option 3: intimidation and subterfuge. They must build their own circle of influence, their tribe within a tribe. This will be made up from their immediate peers, those who are more or less equal to them but don't pose an immediate threat. In order to establish themselves as leader of that group, they must find a foe to vanquish to demonstrate their strength. They can't risk taking on someone stronger or higher status, so they pick a victim they see as weaker than themselves, an easy target who doesn't quite fit in as well as the others. Ideally, it will be someone ill-equipped to fight back. Even better, someone who won't even realise they're a victim until it's too late to turn the tide. Bullying isn't just a way to gain status, though. Many of the worst bullies already enjoy a position of power, but they continue to victimise those they perceive as weak nonetheless. It's a never-ending power game to them. To maintain their position, they must make examples of others to show the consequences of challenging their ideas or their position. This tactic has been employed by teachers, military personnel, middle management, politicians, and countless other authority figures since time began. Typically, such bullies aren't well equipped to handle the position they've put themselves in, and find intimidation the easiest way of maintaining control and an illusion of respect. Then there is the spiteful bully, those with an axe to grind. Their intimidation is born out of resentment, jealousy, or an imagined slight. Their motivation is often misplaced revenge for something they think they can blame their target for. Their victim may have not responded the way they hoped to an overture of romance or friendship. They may have laughed at the wrong moment, or caught the bully doing something they shouldn't. Whatever the motivation, the bully's intent is to punish, to teach their victim a lesson. Finally, there is the opportunistic bully. These are the type we associate with angry mobs and hate groups. The opportunist cares not who their victim is, only that they have an exploitable characteristic. The opportunist is a bigot, safe in the company of other bigots. They will target anyone who is sufficiently different to their peers. Whilst it's easy to categorise bigots as racists, TERFs, ableists or homophobes, they rarely hold only one prejudice. If they're ready to attack someone for the colour of their skin, they are more than likely to do so for their sexuality, disability or neurodivergence too. Being different is sufficient cause for them to show their nasty side to you. Autistic people are so often the victims of bullies. Social naivety is extremely commonplace amongst autistic people. We can take a very long time to process the emotional content of what happens around us or what is said to us. We may play along, thinking we're in on the joke for ages, without realising we are actually the punchline. It makes us easy toys for bullies to play with. They can poke fun at us and even have us participating in our own humiliation long before we cotton on to the fact that we are being mistreated. Complicating this is the different relationship most autistic people have with hierarchy. Systems that rely on strict social ladders or command structures find autistic people a problem because we don't recognise hierarchy or authority in the deferential manner that many neurotypical societies and organisations expect. We don't care if you are a prince or a pauper. We'll like you and respect you if you're kind and make sense to us. And we'll dislike and have little trust in someone who is selfish and dishonest. We won't doff our caps to you because of your position if we think you're a fool. You need to earn respect from us. No title or badge grants it automatically. When you don't give a hoot about hierarchy, you're often not particularly aware of your position within the group. You could be highly respected and have little understanding of it. You may know that people come to you for help, but you're just happy to be able to give that help and not realise that it actually affords you a level of respect and influence you could use to your advantage if you so chose. That, combined with social naivety and slow emotional processing, is equivalent to painting a target on ourselves when there is a bully about. The consequences of being such a target can be devastating and far-reaching. Whilst we may be slow to understand that we're being bullied, once we do realise, it can be far too late to repair the damage already caused. The bully doesn't care. If they cared for our well-being or for the consequences of their actions, they wouldn't be bullies in the first place. But for us, and sometimes the people that rely on us, we find our lives battered and our emotions trampled upon. Our support mechanisms can be demolished, our trust boiled dry, and our loyalty shattered in an instant. It's in this context that intersectionality has to be considered. Autistic people are easy targets for bullies by default. I'm a white male, the stereotype of autism, and I've been on the receiving end of bullying in education, in relationships, and in the workplace countless times. How much more would I have received if I was a woman or transgender? What extra torment and marginalisation might I have been subjected to if I was also gay or black? How much harder would my life have been if I had another easy-to-pick-on characteristic on top of being invisibly different? It's hard enough just having one target painted on my back, but what if I had several? So what can we do about it? Given that we are not only easy victims, but often poorly equipped to defend ourselves or even spot the signs before it's too late, how can we prepare ourselves or fight back? Back when I was a child in the 1970s, I was told that all that was needed to stop a bully was to stand up to them. "Show them you're not intimidated and they'll stop," they said. Anyone who's tried that knows it doesn't work. On rare occasions, you might be lucky enough to strike a nerve and hurt them worse than they hurt you, so they retreat for a while. But that doesn't happen often. More likely, our attempts to stand up to them will result in an escalation of their vicious treatment to punish us for daring to fight back. Now we have the current trend recommended by HR gurus and self-help blogs: resilience. They tell us we can learn to be stronger in the face of bullies and can cope with it better. Build a strong social network, learn to love yourself, stay optimistic, and work on your self-esteem so the bullies can't hurt you. They paint it as a function of emotional intelligence, a question of perspective. It's only bullying if you choose to see it that way. They tell us that bullies are powerless unless you give them the power. All this trend does is flip the responsibility for abuse back onto the abused. Don't blame the bully. Blame your own inability to handle their cruelty. Don't bother those in charge with your whining. Learn to deal with it better, so you don't have to waste their time with petty things like abuse or its resulting trauma. For a long time, my own response to the abuse I received was to stop trusting anybody. If I couldn't be certain I was a victim until it was too late to stop or turn it around, I couldn't afford to allow anybody close enough to hurt me. It's a tactic that so many autistic people employ at some time or even permanently. Rather than be hurt or betrayed, we isolate ourselves from the possibility of harm. It's lonely, difficult and painful in its own right. Sealing ourselves off from pain also insulates us from love, friendship, camaraderie and cooperation. The only real solution to the bullying of autistic people is for others to understand and be willing to shoulder their responsibility for how they treat us. The people at the top of those pecking orders we talked about earlier must not only make the rules, they must set the examples and educate those who look up to them or answer to them. This goes beyond just governments and lawmakers. It extends to the schools, the workplaces and the social groups where bullies flourish. Bullies have no purpose and no environment in which to operate if the social structure doesn't tolerate or reward them. The responsibility for eliminating bullying lies with the people who benefit the most from these social structures. Those at the top, who reap the highest rewards and have the most control. Power and responsibility are the same thing. As long as those at the top continue to take the easy way out and lay the responsibility for dealing with bullying at the feet of the victim, then abusers will continue to use those they see as weaker than themselves for their own ends. It's no excuse to say it's difficult when you have the power to act to protect people you're responsible for. What is difficult about demonstrating your understanding and acceptance of people who are different to yourself? Inaction not only gives the bullies free rein, but implies their behaviour is condoned, even necessary to their progression. If you want to play your part in stopping bullies, you can. You don't have to be at the top of the ladder. You can do it whatever your status. All you need to do is stop encouraging them. Don't play along with their cruelty. Don't treat them as your equals. Don't confuse abusive behaviour for strength. Don't turn away from abuse. Open your heart to those who would be their victims and accept their differences. We cannot blame society. We are society, and we are all responsible. We don't have to wait for someone else to do it. We can do it ourselves. We can embrace difference, cast out intolerance, challenge the bullies, set the example. Thank you for watching.